Hey y'all, welcome back. This is Cameron. In today's video, I'm going to be wrapping up my three-part series where I've been discussing the new Star Wars show on Disney Plus, Obi-Wan Kenobi. So in the last couple videos, I have talked about my top 5 favorite quotes from the show, my top 5 favorite scenes, and how those tie in together to the overall story of the Skywalker saga in Star Wars of what we have. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be a little more critical with top 5 questions that I have remaining after this show. So I don't want this to have some kind of negative connotation to it. These are just questions that I have that weren't clearly answered in the show. Maybe some different writing decisions that could have been made if I was, running things over there at Disney right now. And really just moving forward into the rest of Star Wars, what these characters that are new to us, are they going to be in other shows? What's next for them? Things like that. That's really what my questions center around, because I don't want this to be taken negatively at all. I really enjoyed the show. I've talked about that in detail in my last couple episodes. So I just have some questions remaining, as all Star Wars fans do at this point in time when we finish up a new show. And we've had them after The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, pretty much anything that's going to be in this new era of live-action Star Wars, we're always going to have questions remaining. That's the fun part of being a fan. So remember, spoilers are ahead, so if you haven't watched the 6-part series by now, go ahead and hop off, go watch Kenobi. They're only like 30-40-minute episodes. You can get it done pretty quick. You can come on back to this video. You might have some of the same questions as me. So we'll go ahead and get started, and these are in no particular order. So was Reva actually stabbed by Anakin during Order 66? If so, how did she survive? So this has been a very popular question in the Star Wars community, really since this happened in episode 5. It was when the flashback scene happened. So we see Anakin coming through the Jedi Temple, just knocking down younglings left and right, and it looks like he stabs Reva. If we pair that flashback with the current time of them fighting, it looks like he stabs her. All right, and then Reva had told Obi-Wan that she hid with the bodies of her friends so she wouldn't be caught, so she wouldn't be killed. So I don't know if this was a scene that actually happened, if this was something Reva imagined in her mind, because if she was actually stabbed, I've rewatched the scene a bunch of times by now. If she was actually stabbed, how did she survive as a youngling? I know she had to for the plot to develop in the way it is, but I think it's just kind of a lazy plot point by the writers in this way. It's like, I really enjoyed Reva's character overall. I know that's an unpopular opinion from what I've seen from some people in the Star Wars community. I thought the character was written pretty well. I think there's some more stuff to explore with her. I think this specific part was too convenient for the writers in a way. If Reva was actually stabbed by Anakin during Order 66, how did she survive? There's no way that a youngling would be able to survive that. Anakin stabbed right through her, and then we know he stabs through her in episode 5 as well in this show. So it's pretty remarkable that she would be able to survive both of those attacks by Anakin Skywalker, by / Darth Vader, in this series. So that's really a big question that I have. I don't know if the writers were saying the stabbing at the Jedi Temple was more symbolic, like that she saw Anakin over her, now she sees Darth Vader over her. I've rewatched it multiple times. I can't tell. I've read a lot of different things about this, different theories on it, and it's hard to say. I think it's a 50-50 split. If some people think, well, maybe that was just put in there for symbolic purposes. There's no way she was stabbed as a youngling and survived. And that's kind of where I'm at, but the other camp is saying, well, she was clearly stabbed by Anakin, and then she somehow survived. So, I don't know. That's definitely a big question I have. I know it's a plot convenience thing that the writers kind of had to put in there with the storyline that they set up. I probably wouldn't have done that the same if I was running things, but that's why I'm not running things over there. Next question. Will Reva be in future shows? So like Andor, Ahsoka, potentially her own spinoff. I know the character didn't land for a lot of people early on in the series, but I could totally see this as a character that's coming back in some capacity, because she is left with really just putting her lightsaber away on Tatooine, talking to Obi-Wan. He talked her down, saying like, you get to choose your own path from here. Whatever you do is up to you. You control that. So we'll see. I don't know if she will be in, Andor. That's supposed to take place just before Rogue One, so we're still in this kind of middle area. Maybe there will be some flashbacks in Ahsoka where we see her in maybe the Clone Wars as a youngling. I don't know. There's a lot of different things that they could do with this character. I don't think they would have let her live if they weren't going to put her in a show, if that makes sense. So I think her story's not dead here. Like, I think she would have just, maybe taken her own life on Tatooine at the end of episode 6 in this series. Or, Vader strikes her down, or Obi-Wan strikes her down. Like, I think that would have happened if they, weren't planning to use her anymore. I think there's something for her in these future live action shows. We'll see as time passes, but that's just my thoughts on that situation with Reva. Again, the character wasn't that bad for me. I really liked it overall. I thought it was the classic, Star Wars bait and switch where you have this evil character kind of conflicted the whole time, then ends up turning back to the light. That's really the whole essence of Star Wars in each trilogy. So Reva was a classic character in that way. I thought it was a decent attempt at the character. Was overutilized a little bit early on in the series, but after seeing the entire show, I respect the decisions a little bit more. Next question I have is, why didn't Qui Gon reach out to Obi-Wan during his final confrontation with Vader? I want to preface this with saying I am not upset with the Qui Gon appearance that we did get. I thought that was an excellent way to end the series. Saying that he's now completed his training, now he's able to see him. Like, I thought that was awesome that we get to see Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon again in live action as a Force ghost. Thought that was really good. But I wish we had heard his voice in the battle between Obi-Wan and Vader. I really do. I thought that would have been a great touch to this battle that we've seen. While he's under the rubble there, Obi-Wan that is, he starts imagining Leia and some other flashbacks that he's had. But I think that would have been a perfect time for Qui-Gon to speak to him, like maybe give him some words of encouragement, talking about bringing balance to the Force, all of these things. I thought that would have been a very emotional part to put in. And that would be something that we've seen in other Star Wars. I mean, gosh, we've had in the original trilogy, we've obviously have Obi-Wan talking to Luke through the Force. We have, in the sequel trilogy, Rey getting all of the Jedi to talk to her at the end of Episode 9. So this is a theme in Star Wars that we see a lot of times, with Force Ghosts reaching out to someone when they're in trouble in the middle of a battle, or a lightsaber duel, like this between Obi-Wan and Vader. So I really thought that could have been a good touch to have in the show. Again, I'm not upset with how we saw Qui-Gon, but if I was doing the writing there, I think I would have included that in. Why did we never see or hear Padme in any flashbacks? So this was a big thing for me. I really thought that we would have utilized the Padme storyline more in this series. When I found out that Hayden Christensen was going to be playing Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker in the flashbacks, I really, really thought that we would see Natalie Portman or hear her as Padme in some capacity with this show. Because if you look at any legends, any comics, Darth Vader during this time period, between Revenge of the Sith and before A New Hope, we're in this, 20-year period where he's still very conflicted. He's still battling a lot of things, physically, emotionally. He feels defeated by Obi-Wan years ago. He still is just so much hatred and so much sorrow filled for losing Padme. So I really, really think this would have been an excellent plot point to drive home, is that, Anakin's trying to reach Padme in the Force and trying to speak to her. I thought we could have seen some great scenes with that. Maybe something we had never seen before from like the Clone Wars era, scene between Anakin and Padme in secret, maybe Obi-Wan in there as well. I thought that could have been a great, great thing in this series that they could have drove home. And I think it would have helped tie everything together, maybe for those new Star Wars fans, because obviously we have Luke and Leia, especially Leia, playing a huge part in this Obi-Wan series. I thought having Padme in there would have also helped connect everything in a way for all fans, but especially those new fans that really are hearing about Luke and Leia's mother, but not really seeing them. And the last question I have, and this is probably my biggest complaint of the entire series, which is, it's pretty fair for this to be my largest complaint, but why was the music so unstar Warsy or unstar Wars-esque, whatever you want to call it? It didn't make sense to me. I'm a musician. I love Star Wars music. You know, John Williams has written some of the best film scores in the history of cinema. And I was just really disappointed with this this music throughout the entire series. And even when John Williams has not been doing the music, you know, if we look at these last shows with The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, they have really good themes throughout them. They always connect back to, you know, the Star Wars canon music that we have. This soundtrack for this entire show just took me out of Star Wars so many times. And again, it's a very small detail for some people, but I think a big part of what makes Star Wars so cinematic, so good in a theater, and so just big overall is the music. It adds a lot to a lot of emotional scenes, any kind of intense battle scenes. I really think that's a big piece of it. And especially when we have some of these classic characters like Darth Vader, like Obi-Wan, that have their very specific known themes that we see throughout all trilogies, you know, even the sequel trilogies. I think there was a big missed opportunity with that. I mean, I look at it, and really the only themes that I recall throughout the 6-part series was in the last 10 minutes of episode 6. You know, right? We get, you know, Vader on Mustafar. He's finished talking with Palpatine, which that was a great scene. I failed to mention that in my last couple of videos, but that was a great scene. It's panning away from Vader as he's sitting on his throne on Mustafar. And he is, we hear the Imperial March, and that's very intimidating there. Leia and Obi-Wan's last interaction on Alderaan, we hear the Force theme, we hear Leia's theme, when he says, "Maybe the Force be with you." Like, that's great. I love those moments, but I wish we could have had that kind of sprinkled throughout the entire show. Just a lot of the times, the music, or lack thereof, really took me out of Star Wars. And I love the theme from The Mandalorian, I love the theme from Book of Boba Fett. Even if those shows weren't killing it at certain points in time, I thought the music always felt like you were in the Star Wars universe. This series did not in that way, and then that was a big point of contention for me. So those are my 5 questions, and this wraps up the series where I've been discussing the Obi-Wan Kenobi show on Disney+. Overall, like I've said, it's a good show. It's got a lot of really good live-action Star Wars moments, great scenes, great quotes. It does leave me asking some things that could have gone differently, and what the future of Star Wars looks like for characters like Reva. Are we going to see her in other shows? Things like that. But overall, I was really pleased with this, and I'm excited for the, you know, next season of The Bad Batch. Andor's coming up. Getting into next year, we see The Mandalorian. There's a lot of stuff to come out. So it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan. I'm just glad we're getting content. I know that's not a popular sentiment. You know, people are really, really hyper-focused on what kind of content we get. At this point, I'm just glad that we're getting this. I never would have thought that we would be getting this type of content and this expansive in the universe. So I'm really, really excited to see the future of Star Wars. So remember, like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions that are similar to mine or different, be sure to comment those down below. I'd love to hear your all's thoughts on this entire 3-part series that I've been talking about, with my top 5 favorite scenes, quotes, and the question. So I'll see you in the next video.